Yes, 5 years ago, the world turned dark. We got a vulnerability that was even on the evening news, the Log4shell vulnerability. And that really scared us a lot. And it started a lot of work in the community to actually fix the problems and try to find out more. We are Olle Johansson and Anthony Harrison. You can read a lot about us here, and you can find more information on all over the internet that we've been part of building. But the big question here is really, what if another Log4j happened today? The big problem with Log4j was not fixing it. It was finding out whether you had the problem. As an open source developer since years, I got plenty of email from crazy people wanting me to, within 5 minutes or 1 hour, respond to questions. They didn't pay me anything. I didn't have any obligation to answer them, right? I was called into meetings with customers over the weekend. The amount of money we spent to just find out if we were in problems was massive. And this is something we really need to check and work on. And one of the issues here is finding out.
So,
right?
How many have got SBOMs in their business? A few. Okay, for those who don't know what an SBOM is, the best way of describing it is an analogy. So when you go into a restaurant, the first thing you get asked, apart from where do you want to sit, is, do you have any allergies? And what they are doing, they are practicing risk management. And they can't answer that question if they don't know where all the ingredients of your lovely meals come from. Do they know the supply chain? And that supply chain could be quite deep, because ultimately if you've got a bread roll, ultimately that's got flour in, so where's the flour come from, etc. You also have an expectation, an implicit expectation, you are getting fresh ingredients. They're looking after you. So where's the analogy for software? The fresh ingredients, the ingredients are your open source or your commercial components. Your fresh ingredients are up to date and maintained. And your allergies are vulnerabilities or weaknesses. And we don't want those allergic reactions with our software, because that's what we call exploits.
So the software bill of material is an inventory of all the components you have within your IT systems. Or if you're a manufacturer, all the little bricks you use to build your product. And we can use this inventory, this list, for many different things. You can use it for compliance, and this is the history of the software bill of materials, to be able to find out all the licenses and see the combinations and see if we had any licensing or copyright issues within our systems or products. But there are many different uses, and we'll go through some of them. But don't look into setting up your SBOM for a single use only. Be more open and look for other uses.
Because one SBOM is never enough. There are 6 types of SBOMs, which tends to surprise a lot of people. But actually, that represents the life cycle of your project, from the original concept, design, remember design, all the way through to deployed and running. So as you go through that life cycle, you gain more information about your components. Your components become more defined. So you may say at design, I'm going to use Python. Not until you get to runtime do you know your version 3.14 running on Ubuntu, or SUSE, sorry, seeing Emil, SUSE, LTS version X. Okay? That information doesn't come available to you actually at the deployed state. So it's important you have the SBOM at the right time, at the right stage of the life cycle to answer the right questions that your business needs to ask. And we often think about, have we got the right types of SBOMs? We'll leave that hanging.
Well, these are the 6 types defined by CISA, but I often say I'm missing one. In the CRA, it said that manufacturer has to have an SBOM available for marketing authorities. In many procurement processes today, the customers require an SBOM from the vendor. And that's a whole different, it's not one of these. It's one approved for distribution, approved to run across your software supply chains. Because we see a chain here where you have your asset inventory, you have some sort of lookup key which is typically yet undefined. We haven't started working on that problem. You have your software bill of materials where you have component name versions, you have the vendor name, and some sort of ID. And from that, we have, for vulnerability management purposes, an ID of the software and vendor and version that we use to find vulnerabilities and exploits and all of that. And this looks very simple. I won't make you sad yet, but let's keep this picture in mind. Starting with all the stuff we have, trying to find vulnerabilities. And this is what was missing 5 years ago with Log4j that led to all these emails, requests, phone calls, support issues, and all of that. Because IT managers had no transparency. They couldn't see what they've got. It was hidden. We see this SBOM flow coming, where upstream manufacturers, open source projects, work with software transparency, and through an automated API, which we named the OWASP Transparency Exchange API, deliver downstream to vendors and then downstream to customers software transparency artifacts, SBOM, VEX files, certificate of compliance with the EU CRA, other attestations as well.
There is some good news. People are starting to use SBOMs. Not everyone yet, but you know, the message is getting out there. And the people are starting to add it to their development pipelines. Now, when I often see the development pipelines, they're producing them, and that's the end of the story. Okay, at least they're starting. We're seeing some open source components starting to have SBOMs. Now, it's not easy. I would like to encourage that to be more, because that's another demonstration of transparency. It's also a demonstration of control, because you've actually, you can have almost a repeatable build process. And we're now starting to see procurement teams starting to ask them to be part of the delivery when you get your product from your supply chain. That's starting to get things. And if that starts happening, I'm going to start hugging suppliers and customers for doing that. That'll be good. But the biggest problem sometimes is procurement aren't asking for the right questions because they don't know what those right questions are, because we're not giving them that guidance. We get very hung up about the way data is presented, the format of it, when actually really we need to be concentrating on the content, because the content is going to describe what use cases that content can be used for. And we need to know, they also get very careful about, well, aren't you going to be sharing some proprietary information? Come on, that's contractual. That's the commercial people can sort that out. That's not a technical problem, that's a commercial thing, and we've got lots of ways of solving that. It's not an excuse for not doing it. And clearly vendor lock-ins can become very difficult.
They always come back, don't they? The vendor lock-ins. Anthony and I keep working in SBOM Europe with the software bill materials. We try to keep track. We started on European SBOM user group, which you can participate in. You register for free from our website, and we have bi-weekly meetings where we discuss and look at. But we invented something called the SBOM-O-Meter, where we try to look at various uses of the SBOM and where we are today. Because the word can be described as shiny and beautiful, but in fact there are things missing. There are things missing in order for us to get fully compliant with regulations. If we look into open source license compliance, this is where SBOM started, right? And this is working. We can do that. We have algorithms. We have expression language where I can say, I accept this license, but not that license in combination with that license, and I hate that license, so I don't want to see that license, especially not, you understand. That's done, that's working. That's something you can work on with your compliance department today. The risk management part, this is where the CRA kicks in and say, you have full responsibility for everything you sell, all the components in your product. And it also says the manufacturer have to do due diligence of all the components within their products. We're not really there yet. We're working a lot with it. We have long discussions going on, Anthony and I. We're engaged in CycloneDX, in SPDX, in other communities that talk SBOMs and try to move this process forwards.
Formats, we have formats and we have governance. Just we have 2 of them. They are 2 standards. There's SPDX and CycloneDX. They are both international standards. Free, available standards. Hint, hint, that's why I want all standards to be free, from the previous statement, from the previous talk. And there's a community there to help develop them and evolve them. So that's good. It's not painless, but they are available.
We frequently get the question, which standard do you like much preparing for a fight? And I'm like, I don't care. The problem now is people have no SBOMs. A single SBOM in any standard is better than no SBOM. That's where we are. We can discuss standards later on, right?
And then tooling. That's where it gets a little bit harder. There are tools, but they tend to sort of pick a very careful path in terms of what problem they want to solve. And if you don't know what the problem they're solving, and it's not aligned with the problem you want to solve, you have a problem. Just because, and what you often find is one tool that might work in one ecosystem might not work in the other ecosystems that you use, because we have polyglot systems all over the place. Just because it works in Java doesn't mean it works for Python, etc. So we do have a problem. Have you just moved the slide on there?
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Because I need organizers. I need an extra hour. I think we have that on the program since one speaker. I want really to talk personally about vulnerability management. You see, everything is red. If you search my name on YouTube, you'll find several presentations where I talk about this. We also started something, OWASP, OpenSSF, Eclipse Foundation, and many others called GVIP Project, the Global Vulnerability Intelligence Platform Project, because the vulnerability databases of the world is in a very rocky state. The quality goes down, the ability to use your SBOM to connect with vulnerability databases is really poor, because the name of the vendor and the product is often missing in enumerated ways, so you can actually search. So many SBOM tools create 12 different names of products and combination of vendor names just to try to hit something. They're spraying around. We have a huge problem here, and I think you've heard, September 11 this year, we need this stuff to be in place. Help us. So
this is where SBOMs aren't quite ready, because we need to make SBOMs be part of your operational processes from the 11th of September. That's not long if you want some holiday. So, you know, there are a few people who are already starting to think about this, but not many, not enough. So we have a challenge as a community to make that work. So let's look at where we are. You can see the traffic lights. We're not there. Lots of red flags. But we have to get better and we're only going to get better through community effort, not by the regulators and governments just shouting at us.
So
this is me again as well.
Yeah, my slide.
Yeah. So okay. So what have I been doing? I've been, Log4j was basically, I remember what happened in Log4j. I spent a whole weekend looking at how Java is badly put together again. So I started looking at how to start creating tools and start getting intelligence, because although when the regulations in the US came out, generate SBOMs, I thought it's more than just generate. Just having a file sitting on your disk, that's not the end of the game. You need to start looking inside them and see what does it tell you. So I started writing tools to allow the SBOM, once I've generated it, put it into vulnerability management, put it into license compliance, put it into supplier management, start looking at what insights you can start gaining.
But vendors typically want to, we heard all about that in the previous talk, what they want to do, but they now currently try to sell you one tool to fix all the CRA problems, all the vulnerability management, and all blah, blah, blah. We don't believe in that picture. Like Julia before, we believe in many different tools that do different things within your CI/CD tool chain, within your management platform, together with your code development.
Which is why I've got one or two tools. I come from this community of do one tool, does one thing well. So that's the old Unix philosophy from the 1970s. I'm not quite that old. But so therefore, that's why we have a library that's an interoperable library that allows you to share data between the formats. I don't care the formats, it's just data. And I then have ones for Python, ones for JavaScript. I might have one for Lua, having been speaking to somebody yesterday that you'd like a Lua one. So we can build that. And then you've got the tools to analyze them, which is to look at, well, how do you do it? What's it telling me? Document it. Not everyone is brilliant at reading JSON or XML. But let's make it easier for the non-techie people to communicate. Let's look at maybe adding additional information as additional information becomes available, or we correct it because the tools don't get everything right. And let's do scanning. So I've just built a thing called SBOM Scan, which is built on the vulnerability code database, which is the free one, comes from About Code. Philip's not here. I'm not seeing Philip. Which is an open source vulnerability database. And that will take an SBOM and scan with the data and produce the list of vulnerabilities.
I love it that you also have a tool that is product manager compatible. It exports the SBOM and into an Excel file with different tabs, so the project manager can look at it in its own environment or her environment. But we really need to fix this. We need to make SBOMs operational again. We need to have software transparency and systems transparency. And SBOM, you often discuss it as a file, but it's not really a file, it's the data within. We started with saying that, and we're going to end with saying that. It's a set of data. There's a stream of data, software transparency data from upstream that will need to be enforced downstream as well, and out to authorities. And you can present the same data with different views for different actors. We need a way to publish those views and parts. Now, if you get shocked by all this, don't be, because there is always a starting point. We created a document called the Zen of SBOM, which will give you some harmony. We have outlined a few simple rules saying that it's better to have an SBOM than no SBOM, right? That's the first step. Go make your SBOM. And then you can elevate to the Zen of SBOM and be happy SBOM people. And with that, I think we're done. Go visit our website, join our community, join our discussions. Go to CycloneDX, SPDX, they have tool centers where you can find many other tools, not just Anthony's. There are a lot of open source tools for managing SBOM data. But please follow us and join us. Thank you.